Did you know there's a film coming out on the 5th of April, and it's about that interview with Prince Andrew? That interview that got to be known as that interview because it was so exclusive, so rare, so unusual, so weird. And if you also didn't know, he was known as hanging around with Epstein a lot. And that's really what that interview was all about. Well, they've decided to make it a dramatic film. And it is coming out very soon. Like I say, it's coming to Netflix on the 5th of April. How do you make a film about an interview? I mean, it's going to be just like the original. And, you know, what everybody's saying is the original interview is out there still. It's still out there. You can see the full interview on YouTube, anywhere you like. Easy, Google it. If you haven't seen it, it's quite a sinister watch. Okay, it's just an interview, but it's not. It's done so strategically. I've got to say that Sam McAlister did such a brilliant job to be able to book that. I would have thought that it was completely taboo, and I'm absolutely shocked that it was allowed. I believe it was allowed because Prince Andrew, ironically, was just so cocky and confident that he would be able to pull the wool over people's eyes and prove his innocence in the interview. And of course, it went completely the other way. Every single question, he just has the most guilty look on his face ever. And he answers them, all of the questions, badly. He even contradicts himself. You know, he's shown a photograph of himself in the house, and he says, I've never even been upstairs before. You know, and that photo was taken upstairs, so it can't be a real photo. But how would you know it was taken upstairs if you've never been upstairs? There was another bit where he gets asked, told, of course, this lady has said that he had sexual intercourse with her several times. He denies it completely, denies even ever having met her. And they ask the detail. They go into detail and ask, you know, oh, so you've never been to this club? And he says, no, I've never been to that club. I don't know where that club is. I've never heard of it. And then in a very similar follow-up question about him apparently buying drinks for this lady, he says, I've never bought drinks in that club when I've gone to that club. It's just such a car crash. And basically, as a result of that interview, the royal family kind of dumped him. I mean, it wouldn't be quite that simple, of course, but basically that was in November 2019, and then following criticism for his association with Epstein and the interview, Andrew resigned from public roles in May 2020. That's quite soon afterwards, isn't it? Who's going to be playing who? And say, do we really think there's a point? Well, I have to say that the people they've chosen seem fantastic. I mean, straight away we've got Rufus Sewell in character as Prince Andrew. So it's just come out the last few days, the exclusive photographs of him in character with Gillian Anderson, the amazing and brilliant Gillian Anderson. Remember X-Files, Sex Education? Love her. So she has taken on the role as the interviewer Emily Maitlis. And she has come out in the last few days and said how really scary it was to play that role, and that she really wanted to do it credit. The reason why she said it was scary was because the lady is still alive, and you know, you're doing an impression of her. I think it's very different when you are given a character to act and you can imagine a little bit of this character and you're told what this character's like, and maybe a bit is up for interpretation. But Gillian Anderson said, of course, to actually be that lady and act exactly how she acted was very difficult, but she almost said no to the role. That's the big gossip recently. She really very nearly almost said no because she just thought would find it far too difficult and possibly wouldn't do the lady justice. But in the end, she took on the role for that exact reason. This is a true artist. Because she was finding it so difficult, she thought, you know, I've got to do this. I've got to do this as a challenge. So go Gillian. Love that. Another little bit of gossip out that's related to Prince Andrew in the last couple of days is that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, so they've been downgraded on the Royal Family website. I don't know if you know that, but if you go to the Royal Family, official Royal Family website, so royal.uk/royal-family, you will see that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex So Meghan and Harry, so they obviously moved to America and everything. They've been downgraded, and they're actually at the bottom of the page of who are the royal family and the breakdown of who they all are. And they are right next to Prince Andrew, right next to the Duke of York. This is not sure if that will change again after all the hoo-ha in the press or what, but it's a bit mean, isn't it? I know that they allegedly have done things wrong. Not quite as wrong as him. I mean, he's been found... Basically, it's sure he's guilty of having sex with young women who probably didn't... Oh, how do I put it? He definitely was doing everything that Epstein was doing, wasn't he? There's just no hard evidence. And apparently people saying that it happened to them is not hard evidence enough. And doing an interview where he completely and utterly contradicts himself. And if that was a police interview, then he would definitely have been found guilty. And they would have many, many reasons why... many reasons, mannerisms, responses to questions in many different ways. So guilty, but is still a royal. Of course, he is literally still related to the royal family. Oh, such awkward territory, especially for me being British and it being my country. It's scary. Anyway, the trailer's come out for this film, and it's called Scoop. And it shows Sewell in character as the Duke, sitting down with co-star Gillian Anderson, who plays the journalist Emily Maitlis. In another scene, Billie Piper is playing Newsnight producer Sam McAlister. And she's apparently, in part of this, she refers to him as Randy Andy. Love that. So Billie Piper, great to see her again. Remember, she used to be in Doctor Who, lots of other things. Love her. I think we're the same age. And she's got the fantastic, typical blonde curls that the lady had. So looking good there. Apparently the wig that Billie uses cost £11,000, and while interviewing both Gillian Anderson and Billie Piper about this and asking how they got those brilliant curls, and Billie Piper volunteering that information, Gillian Anderson looks around in shock and says, "Oh, that's where all the budget's gone then." She's so cheeky. So it's based on McAlister's book, in fact, also called Scoops. And, you know, obviously there was really high stakes negotiations with Buckingham Palace to get this interview. So just FYI, this is not only going to be a complete repeat of the interview, the original interview. It's not just that. You know, there's much more to it than that. And it's finding out, well, exactly what I was excited about and curious about, actually, how they managed to get that interview. What was involved? What did they have to sacrifice? What angles were there? You know, how was it allowed? So exciting to learn that. So I'm looking forward to watching this for sure. And like I said earlier, I mean, McAlister, she's a very, very intelligent lady. And, you know, she is let me get this right, trained barrister. So Sam McAlister is a trained barrister, and she was the Newsnight broker who secured the interview. So she says... So it says the Netflix film on which McAlister is an executive producer is based on her book Scoops, behind the scenes of the BBC's most shocking interviews. She wrote the memoir after taking voluntary redundancy from her Newsnight job in 2021. She gives her theory about why Prince Andrew believed the recording had gone well. That's right, after the recording, Prince Andrew actually said, felt and believed that it went well, which really kind of surprises me. But at the same time, it's that sheer arrogance. It's the same arrogance that was doing all of these acts in the first place with Epstein, that was taking photographs with these 17-year-old girls that he was having sex with, and believing that he would never be reprimanded for it. It's that same, and like she calls it, she says, I call it royal delusion. People at a certain level, and I was dealing with the heads of state and CEOs at the time, nobody thinks they've done a bad interview. It's cocky confidence, overconfidence. Ooh. Well, anyway, so Gillian Anderson and Billie Piper, like I say, they're absolutely adamant that there is every reason to make a film about the interview, even when the original can still be watched online, as I mentioned earlier. Because this is much about the story behind it and the people behind the acquisition of the interview as it is about the interview itself. And both say the fact that it was women, particularly McAlister, who were instrumental in making the interview happen, is what most appealed to them, to be acting the roles. It captures all the moments where it almost didn't happen, says Anderson, so it sounds quite exciting. Are you going to watch it? I'm definitely going to watch it. Tell me what you think. Tell us what you think. And please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.